Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. I am honestly so thrilled to have you here, because we're going on a journey to uncover the hidden mechanics of a super common object. In fact, it's almost certainly sitting right next to you as you watch this. We use it every single day without a second thought, but beneath its incredibly simple exterior lies this absolutely fascinating story of problem solving. We are going to look closely at the genius behind something we entirely take for granted. So where did the ballpoint pen actually come from? It's really easy to assume things like this have just always existed, or maybe some massive corporation dreamed them up in a fancy lab. But its actual origins? They're rooted in everyday frustration, brilliant mechanical engineering, and a totally surprising detour into military aviation. It is a true story of the stuff of genius. And to really understand it, we've got to go back to the beginning.
Let's start right here with Phase 1, the smear problem. Our story centers on a guy named László Bíró, who was born in Hungary back in 1899. Now, László wasn't some world-famous engineer right out of the gate. He was actually a journalist. And as a working journalist in the early 20th century, his everyday career brought him face-to-face with a very frustrating, very messy daily obstacle. He was trying to get his thoughts onto paper as fast as possible, but the tools of his trade were, well, they were actively fighting against him.
See, the standard writing instrument at the time was the fountain pen, but it had some severe flaws if you were a busy, fast-paced journalist like Bíró. The ink just constantly smeared all over the place, and it took entirely too long to dry on the page. It was literally ruining his notes and slowing down his work. Bíró realized that just tweaking the ink formula wasn't going to cut it. He needed a completely new, clean-functioning tip to solve this problem once and for all. Phase 2, the genius solution. So the million-dollar question is, how do you completely reinvent the tip of a pen? Well, László didn't just accept the smear. He actually took action. With the help of his brother, they set out to engineer a brilliant mechanical solution. Let's break down exactly how their design revolutionized writing forever. I want to slow down here for a second, because this is just phenomenal engineering. Instead of a sharp, static metal nib, they designed a tip made of a tiny ball nestled inside a tiny socket. Here's how it works. Step 1, as you press down and the pen moves across the paper, the friction physically grabs the ball. Step 2, that ball begins to rotate really smoothly within its socket, and as the top half turns inward, it picks up a fresh layer of ink from the reservoir inside the pen. Finally, Step 3, as that rotation continues, the ink-covered side of the ball rolls out and moves that precise layer of ink directly onto the page. It's a continuous, perfectly clean loop. This simple 3-step rotation was a massive leap in everyday engineering. It effectively eliminated the puddles and the smears of the old fountain pen. Our source material notes that the ballpoint pen was simply a clever idea. And it absolutely was. It was an elegant solution to a really universal problem. But, as with a lot of clever ideas in history, it didn't just magically catch on globally overnight. People were used to their old fountain pens. For this clever idea to truly grab worldwide attention, it needed to be tested in a high-stakes environment to decisively prove its worth. And that brings us to Phase 3, taking flight. We are dynamically pivoting away from a journalist's desk and right into the cockpit. The absolute turning point for the ballpoint pen's global adoption was brought about by British pilots in the Royal Air Force. They started using Bíró's pen during their flights, and they became the crucial demographic that basically forced the rest of the world to pay attention. So why was the Royal Air Force so interested? Well, first off, the ballpoint pen does not rely solely on atmospheric pressure to distribute its ink. It uses that mechanical rolling action of the ball we just talked about. Because of this, it functions so much better than fountain pens in high altitudes. Fountain pens were notorious for leaking everywhere or just completely failing when the air pressure dropped way up in the sky. Bíró's clever little ball and socket design bypassed that pressure issue entirely, which made it a genuinely vital piece of aviation technology.
Phase 4, a global legacy. Once it proved itself up in the skies during a massive global conflict, there was really no stopping it. This high-profile, high-stakes wartime adoption propelled Bíró's invention right into the mainstream. Recognizing the incredible value of what he and his brother had created, Bíró went on to secure patents for his pen in both France and Argentina. And that strategic move, that officially sealed his legacy worldwide.
Let's pull all of this together and look at Bíró's milestones. In 1899, he's born in Hungary. Decades later, simply because he was a frustrated journalist who was sick to death of smeared ink, he invents the brilliant ball and socket tip. Then, during flights, the pen is propelled to international fame by British Royal Air Force pilots who needed a reliable high-altitude tool. And look at this final point, this is amazing. His impact was so profound in Argentina, where he patented it, that annually, Argentines celebrate Inventors Day, right on the anniversary of Biro's birth.
But perhaps the ultimate, most lasting tribute to his genius is found right inside the dictionary. If you look up the word Biro, it is literally a noun meaning a ballpoint pen. In a ton of countries around the world, they don't even say ballpoint pen. They just call them bureaus, keeping László Bíró's memory alive every single time they jot down a grocery list or sign a document. His name actually became the everyday noun for his invention. How cool is that?
Which brings us to the end of our journey today. And I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative question. What other stuff of genius is sitting on your desk right now, just waiting to be recognized? We are surrounded by brilliant solutions to everyday problems, objects with incredible hidden histories involving frustrated journalists, rolling mechanics, and Royal Air Force pilots. The next time you pick up a pen, take a quick second to appreciate that tiny rotating ball inside. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.